Yeah. Other than that, just keep on trucking.
And with the tumbleweed still blowing through the office, is it pretty deserted, or was the table tennis a go-go?
No, I did have a couple of games of table tennis. That bastard Nandy, I cannot beat him. So I put a whooping on Jimmy B. Easy potatoes. Yeah. But Nandy, he's a tricky one. He's got a real vicious flick backhand. So I'm going to probably pop in next week, if only just to give him a game on the table tennis.
Talking Joe is on the air, and here are your hosts, Chief and Mark.
Hey, it's me, the Chieftain Tank, joined by you.
Yakshimish, my name of Mark is nice.
You watched something over the weekend, you must have done.
I might have done.
Any good?
It's fun in places, less so in some other places, but worth a watch if you're a fan of Sacha Baron Cohen and Borat. It's worth a watch. There's some real sort of fist in mouth kind of chewing down at the awkwardness of it at times, but good times. Good.
Anything else you've been up to this week?
I've been binge watching the Leftovers box set, which is Damon Lindelof of Lost and Watchmen fame.
Okay, I've never heard of this show, so tell me about it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a less well-known one, but very critically well-received. It's all about a world where essentially, I think it's 20% of the population have sort of vanished up into the air, a little bit like the snap in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Okay. And the consequences of people living with that sort of rapturesque kind of moment. And it's did that air on Sky Atlantic or something like that, or it was
just
something
normal
like that.
Sky?
Yeah. I think it was someone. Yeah, in the UK, I think it was something like Sky Atlantic. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I might have heard of it then. Yeah, but not seen any. But is that finished? That's all wrapped up now, is it?
That's wrapped up. 3 complete seasons done and dusted. But yeah, I've got to continue watching season 3 to cap it out. But yeah, very very good, very bleak. But yeah, very well made, very well acted. Lots of interesting ideas explored.
Right. Very good, very good. I like series that or shows that kind of know what the end point is and get there rather than just padding out and doing filler.
There's so much that is good, but then it's successful and it's commissioned to keep on going, and they're not really sure where they're going, and it just sort of meanders and
kind of
loses.
Like Lost, I guess, to agree. I never watched it, but from the people that did watch it, kind of said it went on at least 2 seasons too long.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. There was some definite high points to that, but at some points it just felt like it was just meandering and not really going anywhere.
Couple of things I want to point out. If you are, as of recording, today is Sunday, this won't air for a few days, but if you're in the UK, you won't be able to get the newspaper now, but if you go online to The Guardian, there's a little article there with our own former host Ben did a little interview with The Guardian about lockdown hobbies, and there's a picture of him and Phoenix's kid in the loft with the Scalextrics, and the interviewer's kind of asking him how he got into Scalextrics, what he's done through lockdown, how much money he's spent, etc., that kind of thing. But nice little interesting article.
Good fun. Yeah, nice. Following up on the themes from last week, we talked about the toy of the week, which was the Thunder Machine, and we also talked about impulse buys, and immediately following the show, I went and bought a Thunder Machine on eBay, so ching, there we go.
Paid a good price?
I double checked with S-Jobs before I pulled the trigger, just to see what he thought of it, and he said sounds good. So
has that arrived?
No, it's coming from Australia, so it's not arrived as yet, but
all right.
Hopefully
good stuff. Let us know on this show when it arrives, we'll have a little chat about that. Good stuff. Quick question, this is not a question to the listeners, or it could be if you want to respond. Is it okay to have had 2 Bailey's coffees by 1:30pm? I've just had my second, and Mrs. was like, it's not Christmas. What are you doing drinking Bailey's at lunchtime? Now, for non-UK listeners, I don't know if you get this elsewhere, Bailey's is like an Irish coffee liqueur, like a 20% volume alcohol. You have it over ice or in a coffee. I'm sure there's other substitutes everywhere in the world. But is it okay to have had 2 by 1:30 on a Sunday?
Well, yeah, quite possibly. I think it's a kind of the polite, well-to-do alcoholic's choice that it's acceptable to have a little splash.
You go for a pub lunch.
coffee.
Sometimes you might have a Bailey's coffee after it or something like that.
Yeah.
2. I don't know. Might have another one after this. 3. Let's see how we go.
We'll see how it goes.
The other big news of the week is Chief is out of the action figure game. Mark is aware of this. I did have a brief conversation with him offline, but suffered burnout. So the same kind of thing that happened to me with Scale Electric, where it was a 6-week stint of purchasing, boxes arriving, jubilation, building track, planning track, not actually doing any racing, but just doing that. And I'm finding the same thing. I'm now 7 weeks into action figures. I think I have about 76 inch in 7 weeks. So I'm averaging 10 a week, which, budget wise, work it out yourself. That is not ideal when they're running at about 20 quid each. But I've got another 10 on pre-order that haven't even arrived yet. But I don't know, I had them all out on the table for a photo shoot, every single one. This is cross-IP, so it's a mixture of Black Series, G.I. Joe Classifieds, Marvel Legends, there's a Predator, there's that Warhammer one, there's a few other little, there's a Ghostbusters thing in there as well, but all 6-inch. And had them all out, and I just looked at it, and I felt a bit disgusted with myself in terms of, what am I doing? Why have I got all this plastic stuff that I don't really need? And the revelation was, I have been a fan of G.I. Joe and Star Wars for 35-40 years, and in the last 7, I've not collected action figures since I was a kid. In the last 7 weeks of getting action figures from these two IPs, has my love of those two franchises grown even more? The answer is absolutely not. So they have done nothing to increase my love of those franchises. If anything, they've decreased my love of those franchises in some degree, just because the action figure, and this is me personally. I've got this is not meant to offend anyone who is big into the action figure scene, but for me personally, it's, I don't know. It's just the scene feels weird. Going on all these Facebook groups now. There's obviously good ones. Talking Joe's a good one. G.I. Joe Bug's a good one. There's some other sales ones that are good, but I got involved in like at least maybe 10 Facebook groups of people that are buying and selling action figures, and it's a bit of an ugly scene. There's a lot of bitchiness and sniping and smart remarks and things like that, and scalping, and just people trying to look out for number one, and kind of the scene's not for me. And I wish, like I was chatting to Ben, because he also got deep into the scene at the same time as me. I kind of egged him on, and he, on the same weekend last weekend, we both came to the same realisation at the same time that it's not for us, and he ducked out as well. Now, he didn't go as mental as me. I think he's got about 27 Black Series he bought in 7 weeks, but that's still 4 a week, and he says he wish he could go back to buying maybe 4 figures a year, something like that, or 6 figures a year, one every 2 months. Just be a normal, regular purchaser of memorabilia associated with a franchise you love, rather than, I hate this pre-order thing where I got into that FOMO thing where figures were coming out, and if you didn't pre-order them then you weren't going to get them because there weren't going to be any coming to retail. And I hate all that pre-order nonsense, and it just, for me, turned a bit ugly. But I've talked a lot there. Can you relate to any of that at all, or not?
Well, a little bit of that. I see it's very easy in this social media, age to get, be joining up all of the groups here, there, and everywhere. There's so much stuff to be delving into, and having those, all of those voices and all of that kind of, different levels of energies are coming from those groups. It can be, easy to get sucked in and have maybe some of the negative aspects of that sort of permeate. But I've sort of joined up a few of these various groups and so on. So I see a constant stream of people buying and selling and talking about the newest releases.
Like I mentioned, it's not to say that all the groups are like that, because I have joined some buying and selling trading groups that are good kind of communities. People look out for each other. People aren't trying to rip people off. So that's not blanket what I was saying, but there was a few that I did come across, and it just a bit sour. It just sours you a little bit, doesn't it? And also,
but it's also because there's so much of that content. Without it, you might be getting a couple of figures here, there. But when it's sort of being pushed in your face via the updates and everything, it means that you're thinking about it, almost constantly, whereas otherwise you'd be, you wouldn't really, would it?
No, exactly. Like you said, it's a lot of it is the actual, the manufacturers, the Hasbro and all those guys who are pumping out wave after wave of figures, especially across the Black Series and the Marvel Legends. There's no respite. It's like once one's landed, another one's out, and I got sucked into the thing where, okay, cool, I want a Mandalorian Stormtrooper, and they retailed at $19.99. I was in Forbidden Planet, I bought one, and then I thought, it'd be nice to have two, one flanking either side of Vader, so I got another one. And then you start hearing, they're selling out everywhere, and so then I thought, but buy another two just in case. So then I bought another two.
Just in case.
Now they go for like 26 quid.
Yeah.
There's a £20 retail figure that's been out for like 2 months, and it's selling for 26. And if I had thought I'll get one of those, but I'll get one for Christmas, whatever, I might have to pay 40 quid on eBay. And it's that whole back, the second-hand market that is just has people in fear of, if I don't get it now, I'm going to have to pay over the odds on Evil Bay.
And also,
as people in the know call it.
It's maybe 20 quid now, but if I bought one and held on to it for a couple of months, maybe it will be 50 quid or something like that. And that's easy money, or that's a good, trade, something to swap or whatever, and sort of pushing you into the mentality that but buy more, just in case.
Yeah, and I'm not, scalpers are. It's a big debate whether scalpers are. Some say they're good for the action figure market because it means more are being bought, so then that keeps lines going. But obviously, it's bad in a way that one person buys 20 figures off the peg of Cobra Trooper and then is selling them for $50 each.
Yeah.
That's bad because the real collectors are having to pay over the odds. So it hurts the kind of the morale and the enthusiasm of the industry, of the collector community. So it's bad in that way. But
I think when the stock or the ability to buy that stock is very limited, and literally there'll be X amount available on a particular website at the minute of launch, and if you've not got a bot buying it for you, or you're not you're just not lucky to be right on the mark and buy it in those few seconds when it is available, then that's your chance gone, because the scalpers have gone in and swiped them all up. I think that's the worst, is that when it just prevents the opportunity for the regular buyer to get them at all.
There's a good guy I watch on Dan Larson, I think his name is, Toy Galaxy on YouTube, and one of his slogans is "Leave one for the next collector." Don't take everything off the peg. There you go. But so Chief is, and the end shot is, I think I'm going to sell all my Marvel Legends, but I'll keep Doctor Doom because I want to kind of have a villains gallery. I will probably sell all my G.I. Joe classifieds. I will keep the Supreme Cobra Commander and Destro. I will likely sell the rest. I may keep a Red Ninja, but if I do sell another one, I'll come to you first, Mark.
Thank you.
But the rest, because I know you're looking for a second one.
Well, a first one, depending on whether I...
Oh, yeah, you've got one on pre-order, though, still, haven't you?
Yeah. Whether it turns up in the post eventually or not,
so I'm probably going to sell the rest. I think this is where it's difficult, because I am a comic-first kind of guy for G.I. Joe, and I find, even though these figures are good, there's a lot of problems with them in terms of looseness, but they are good figures. But they don't, like I said earlier, they don't improve my love of G.I. Joe at all. And I think I'm just, I don't know. I don't need them. So if I don't need them, then I might as well just sell them to a collector who wants them, who can't get hold of them. I get a bit of money back. And with the Star Wars ones, man, they look so good on the shelf. I don't know if I can bring myself to sell any of the Star Wars ones, but there we go. But so that is... Chief's catch-up for this week. There is one extra catch-up, and even though no one has requested it except one person, I think it might have been Jay, we have got to go inside Chief's mind. Oh!
It's dark. It's cold. Can you be brave? Can you be bold? Sick to get on, you don't know what you'll find. Digging in deep into Chief's mind. Inside Chief's mind. Are you trapped? Or can you escape? Recording all your thoughts like a videotape. Inside Chief's mind. I said inside Chief's mind.
feel like we've been there already. As we said previously on this show, all those episodes, feel like we've already been there.
Well, but, time for a rant after that.
Yeah, after that casual, relaxing chat. Listen, one of my favourite one of my favourite things in the chocolate bar world is a Cadbury's Curly Wurly. Now, we'll post images up if you, outside the UK, you're not familiar with a Curly Wurly. It is a kind of spaghetti-ish caramel bar wrapped in chocolate. It kind of looks like vines growing up the side of a wall kind of thing, doesn't it? I guess.
Yeah, up a trellis, yeah.
Yeah, like a trellis, yeah, in a kind of rectangular-ish shape. Love a Curly Wurly. Bought some Curly Wurlies to help decorate my kid's cake that she made the other day. Not her birthday, she just wanted to make a cake, so I bought a Curly Wurly. I thought that'd be good. And fancied one just before coming on this pod. Really, I love a chewy Curly Wurly. Great. Bloody missus put them in the fridge. Man alive, I take that Curly Wurly out the fridge. It is rock solid. It is like eating like a real hard butterscotch candy. It's like no good to me. I wanted that chewiness from the Curly Wurly, and it was just brittle and snapping off as I put it in my mouth.
Oh dear.
Terrible.
That bar must be like the dentist's best friend, just ripping out so many fillings and things. It's got a tackiness to it that is, all over your teeth.
Yeah, there you go. Missus, do not put Curly Wurlies in the fridge. But maybe she likes them, frigified, and she put them in for herself. So there you go. Anyway, that's a lot of catching up there. So
that's
we better
the big subjects covered there.
Yeah, we've got covered the big subjects. We better head into the comics. It's time for comic talk. Comic talk. Oh, comic talk. Barry Hammer writes them. Chief and Mark discuss them. Whoa. Comic talk. Oh, comic talk. Larry Hammer writes them. Chief and Mark discuss them. Whoa. Okay, this week we are covering 242 and 243, if I'm not mistaken, of A-Ra, and let me just get the issues to hand.
Favourite cover?
So, any of these covers stick out to you? What was your favourite?
So, I went for my favourite as being 243, which has got Roadblock in the doorway, sort of silhouetted from light coming from behind, and around the doorway is sort of like bullet holes which also have light shining through them. So it's like literally no detail to the body of or facial features or anything like that. It is pure black and just quite an iconic kind of shape there. And what I noticed for both 242 and 243 is that pretty much neither of these issues, the covers by Gallant, have anything to do with the interiors.
Yeah, when you mentioned it then, because for some reason, because rock and roll's in this issue, and I didn't pay much attention to the cover, I was like, rock and roll silhouetted, because he's in the issue. But now when you said Roadblock, I've gone back, of course it's Roadblock, because he's got the Mardoos. And then I was like, yeah, but he's not in it, is he?
No. And Mindbender versus Zartan isn't on the cover to 242 either, so I'm imagining this is one of those situations where they've been up against a deadline. S.L. Gallant has had no idea what was actually in the book at the time of the cover being needed to be produced, and has just tried to go for some interesting covers.
I think I'm going to go for the John Royal one for 243 with Spirit and Lady J under siege on the cover.
Yeah, they are sort of battling up against these sort of flying Cobra drones around.
Yeah, we haven't really seen those before, have we? They haven't been depicted in the comic before, have they?
No, I imagine that's just scooped out of John Ryle's brain.
It's brain matter.
But 242 by Royal is nice as well. That's got, I was just looking at a larger image of that on the screen, and that's got Scarlet up against two sort of eels in the foreground, and a sort of a fun kind of sea battle base thing happening in behind her with a shark and whatnot.
Yep. Good stuff. I've just realised we didn't do Action Figure Fiasco. We kind of did it though, didn't we?
Right. Okay.
Let's skip it this week.
Okay.
Okay, so we better have a bit of a recap, as last time on A Real American Hero, In Springfield, Granny Demon, Storm Shadow Zartan, the new Snake Eyes, the Collins family and Senator Ling Torres are able to escape the clutches of Cobra Commander and his marauding forces with the help of double-dealing dreadnoks and a possessed Dawn Moreno, who carries the dark memories and deadly skills of the original Snake Eyes inside her brain. Meanwhile, Dr. Venom has similarly possessed Dr. Mindbender's body, making his own sneaky exit from the besieged community centre and revealing himself to a shocked Cobra Commander. And in Darklonia, the Joes suffer a tragic death in the family as the battle-injured Sneak Peek succumbs to the horrific damage inflicted on his body. Oh, got a bit dark at the end there. Right, a lot of stuff going... Well, I was going to say a lot of stuff going on, but it's kind of two main threads or stories running through here. One wrapping up and then one progressing through at least an issue and a half. So let's have a bit of a breakdown.
Plot breakdown.
So, at an auto repair shop in Springfield, Zartan and the Dreadnoks, the ninjas and the Collin family arrived after escaping in the Thunder Machine. The Collins are being ferried out of Springfield by Zartan and the Dreadnoks. Senator Wendy Ling Torres wakes up somewhat confused. Zartan will arrange for her to get back to Washington, but warning her to be discreet about her memory lapse. On the ninja side, Sean has lost his mask, as well as his secret identity by the looks of things, so has a new bandana-style mask, for the short term at any rate. Dawn is back in charge with no memory of what Snake Eyes has done while he was dominant, and Granny wants to get back to training Dawn. But the ninjas don't need Zartan's help to disappear. They are all ninjas, after all. And at the Springfield Community Centre, Dr. Venom establishes his identity by whispering a secret into Baroness's ear that only he would know. Zartan's deception unravels as Destro sees that the dead Snake Eyes has multiple bullet strikes to his face but no bullet holes in the mask, and he notices a very suspicious looking exterminator van that has hologram accessories.
Yep, that's all going down there, and the other part is that halfway around the world above Trucio Abysmia, there's an American ambassador and his two security team members. They're under attack in a compound of a local businessman, and a team of Joes is on the way back from a rough op. They're called in to support because they're the closest special ops team. This team consists of Leatherneck, Rock and Roll, Airborne and Long Range, and they do a halo drop into the compound. Leatherneck does snag on a gust of wind and drifts down to a roof 100 yards away, blowing the team's stealthy insertion. All of the militia in the country are on the way to the attack, where the extraction chopper is half an hour away. The Joes get the defences ready and secure shooting positions, and as they come under attack, the Sea King chopper is shot down and the Joes fall back to Plan B once they figure out what Plan B is.
And as we start up the next issue, all is quiet with no activity from the compound for an hour. The militias converge on the compound as we discover what Plan B was. It was to booby-trap the dead bodies of their fallen comrades with grenades. While the militia are in the ground, they attack the Joes, but the Joes sneak out via the basement through the sewers and borrow 2 trucks to get to another extraction point at the desalinization plant. And as the trucks run into a roadblock, a firefly... There he is, he's on the cover, and also there he's blocking the road. As the trucks run into a roadblock and firefight ensues, wiping out the driver and the 2 bodyguards are hit. Ambassador McCrory takes Leatherneck's hat and his sidearm while he is surrounded by militia. He shoots down to the ground where there's petrol that has leaked onto the ground, causing a huge explosion. The ambassador's sacrifice buys the team time to escape to the extraction point. They conclude, Semper Fi, Devil Dog.
So let's take these kind of 2 plots one by one. The first one wrapping up some Dawn stuff, but obviously we're going to get even more Dawn stuff in the future. But anything jump out at you in terms of, a lot of cast members Larry's having to deal with here?
Talking points.
Well, yeah, and he's sort of juggling initially all of those, that crew that had escaped in the garage, and trying to sort of wrap up what's happened to them and where they're gonna go next, before then moving on to that little Cobra team of characters to kind of resolve that Venom situation, really. Venom he whispers into Baroness's ear to kind of tell her something that only he would know, and that's kind of an echo of similar sequences before with the Baroness, where, for example, she's been the one that's been able to help Fred when he took her aside and showed her face all the way back in the day.
Now, how far have you read up to at this point in time?
I think I've back in the day. I think
Yes.
I did read some of the very first Dawn issues, but have close to no memory of them.
Okay.
And then I haven't read ahead.
All right, so this is new
yeah.
to you as well. Have you got any inkling about what he might have whispered to Baroness, or
No clue. I don't. I wouldn't even guess that Larry would have.
no?
A clue.
And chances are, I'm giving it 50-50 that Larry forgets about this and doesn't bring it up again.
Yeah, I would imagine it's
Yeah,
one of those things that never gets brought up,
Yeah.
up again.
So that
For example,
was one of the. I
when-
had two things on the pad to talk about this kind of sequence here. That was one of them. The other one is there's a bit where the Cobras discover the body. Where is it? Is it a few pages on?
Okay.
And a televiper says, "We removed the mask from Snake Eye's body.
Mhm.
You should take a look at this."
Yeah.
Destro's like multiple bullet strikes to the face. It's pulp, totally unrecognisable.
Mhm.
Now, the Joes have used the mask of whoever that body is, whichever viper that body is. They've used the mask to extract their escape. So he says it's been riddled with bullet holes to the face. Now, clearly that wasn't done while the Cobra Trooper was wearing the mask. So the Joes they've killed a Cobra Trooper, they've unmasked him, and they've unloaded loads of ammo into this dead man's face to make it pulp.
I don't think you necessarily have to make that leap, because there was a huge amount of dead bodies sort of around the scene. So I guess you could argue that there's a body which has been the one that was riddled and
Right, okay.
dressed up as Snake Eyes, and there was a different one that was
There was
used
already one
as a
that
disguise.
the Joes had already pulped someone's face with his mask on, and then chose a different dead guy whose mask wasn't full of bullet holes to use for their escape.
That seems more reasonable and less
Okay.
gory.
And less gory, yeah. Okay, fine. That's all good. Anything else sticking out here?
In that little sequence as well, Venom says, "I see Zartan's hand in this," but actually, in the terms of the comics, there wasn't any crossover between Venom, his appearances, and Zartan. So at least in the pages of the comic, they never met.
However, can I no prize it?
Yeah, I had two potential no prizes there as
Okay.
well, but you go first. Go on.
Well, yours will be one of this. Now, Venom has co-opted Mindbender's body, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So Mindbender is fully aware of Zartan, so maybe there is some lingering memories of Zartan.
Oh, yeah, good one.
Yep.
So
What have you got?
So my first one was that while Zartan and Venom have never appeared on the same page before, Zartan was part of Cobra at the same time.
Okay.
So because he back in the day was the assassin essentially that killed the Hardmaster at the very infant days of Cobra. So just because they've not met on page doesn't mean that they haven't ever met at any point. And then my other thought was that potentially Venom has benefited from information being uploaded into the brainwave scanner post his death as well, and maybe he's absorbed some of those memories of the various people that have been scanned, or when he came back when he went into Billy's body as well. So we can explain it away with one of those three different scenarios, I think.
Yep, they'll all cover it. But I'm not sure they're not too concerned, the kind of the Cobra High Command here, or what's kind of left of it, because it was Cobra Commander really with just Mindbender. Now Mindbender's gone and Cobra Commander's almost left on his own. He's got Destro and, Baroness and that crew who weren't involved but aren't part of his inner circle. He's now got Venom, who is clearly just come back and isn't in the fold yet, so Cobra Commander's kind of on his own, but none of them are really overly concerned about the goings on of what's just happened, which seems quite a monumental thing. But I guess, I don't know, that's the way Larry plays it a lot, isn't it? He doesn't have his characters overreact too much.
Yeah, and I guess sort of Cobra Commander's never shown a huge amount of loyalty or fondness to any of his underlings, really. So I can imagine him being a little bit cold-blooded about it.
Yeah. this is, it's kind of dissipating away this arc, because even Granny says, doesn't it, in it's time for me, Sean, Dawn, and Storm Shadow to be on our way as well. So everyone's departing. Wade Collins is going off with the Dreadnoks to get a new life, effectively. All the ninjas are dispersing, and it's kind of wrapping that up.
Yeah.
Although within 4 issues or 3 issues time, we're going to get a whole Dawn arc for herself. So you only lose that ninja stuff for a few issues, but that kind of wraps that stuff up. Obviously, the more interesting stuff is happening with this recon team, or this rescue team, effectively, over in Trucio Bismia.
Yeah, it's an interesting plot, and you're sort of thrown in, at the deep end of a brand new story, and sort of almost a special mission. There's no Cobra, there's no Cobra involvement in this one, is there? So it is kind of harkening back to some of those one and done kind of standalone non-Cobra kind of special missions, and I guess a little bit of an echo back to that other mission that they had not too long ago with that also involved long range in wherever it was, one of the Middle East.
Was it benzene?
Benzene,
perhaps.
Or yeah, why not? Yeah.
And as standard, the Joes have gone in. The guy they're trying to extract, he's only got 2 guys left, so there's only seven heroes, and the whole of this militia's after him. So it's the numbers are against them. Can they get out? Is the rescue going to be, on time and there? And like you said in the recap, the chopper that comes in gets blown out of the sky, so they have to think of a new way out. And that's where they kind of try and escape via the wheels or the practicals. And it noted Larry uses the word practical 10 times.
Very good.
When referring to these. I'm assuming it means a practical vehicle, as in a Jeep, a truck or something.
Yeah, it must be. Yeah.
He uses it 4 times in issue 242, and he uses it 6 times in issue 243.
And I think they use it in the film that I watched this week.
Okay.
So I think that Larry was very much influenced by 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, which was a 2016 film directed by Michael Bay, based on real life events. In the film, it follows 6 members of the Annex security team who fought to defend the American diplomatic compound in Benghazi in Libya after waves of attacks by militants on September the 11th, 2012. So the film came out in 2016. This issue came out 2017.
Yep.
And a lot of parallels there in the story, but also in the language used. So they refer to the ambassador as the Ambo, which they also do in the film. And I think in the film they also refer to these sort of vehicles quite a lot, of, as you say, as practicals. I think I would be very much surprised if Larry hadn't seen this film or read the book.
Okay, that makes a bit more sense, because one of my notes here is I can do without all this military jargon. I don't want to read a G.I. Joe book for military jargon.
Well, that's a bit contentious. Some people love the military jargon.
Yeah. And again, I'm just talking about me here. And I know that sounds silly as well, because Larry has used military jargon from day one, and I think it's more the level of it. So I'm happy with him using, a few references per issue. That's fine. But these 2 issues just felt like every other panel he's using it. And again, that's not to say that it shouldn't have been used, because maybe that makes the story feel more like, what you were to that movie and that real scenes you were talking about. Maybe that gives it a bit more realism and stuff. So I'm fine. I'm all for that. But just for me, on a personal note, it just felt like too much.
Yeah, and I think, Larry has used this as an opportunity to tell quite a kind of realistic kind of special ops type mission that has got G.I. Joe involved, but could quite easily have been told about, any other special ops kind of team, making that kind of rescue. That if Larry had been writing it for the Call of Duty kind of book or something along those lines instead of G.I. Joe, the fact that it's so grounded in real life kind of plausibility rather than the fantastical elements of G.I. Joe versus Cobra, it could quite easily be sort of transposed to sort of more realistic military.
Yeah.
Book.
I like the team. I think this team's cool. Leatherneck, always enjoy Leatherneck's appearances. Really? Why is that funny?
It's just Leatherneck's degree of kind of bumbling in this story sort of is quite amusing, isn't it?
Big fan of Airborne, as people who watch the Toy Box videos know, one of my faves, and really happy and pleased to see him in kind of a team leader role here.
Yeah. I don't know that we've seen him in that kind of environment before, but yeah, it's good to see.
Yeah. I mean, so quick question for you. If the question that we asked the listeners at the end that we'll go through was give us some kind of C-list characters that don't get much love or are underappreciated, and I was going to say Airborne, but would you say he was A-list or not? I would say on virtue of not much appearances that he's not A-list, but would he maybe be B?
Yeah, he definitely couldn't be A, just in terms of like the number of figures that he's had and the amount of page time that he's had, or even cartoon time. But yeah, from the fact that he's one of those very early releases, whether that guess something like 1983, I would imagine.
Right.
So I'd say anything of that kind of era is a classic kind of figure, and sort of it's almost promoted into the B list, regardless of how much time you get.
However, here on Talking Joe, we do open up to all avenues of content. So maybe from a action figure point of view, he could be B, but from a comic character point of view, he could well be C.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get to that in the end of the show. We can carry on this debate. But, I do like the team. Long Range has had quite a few appearances lately in his sniping role.
Yeah. So it's another use to use him in that speciality. So that's a good sort of consistent approach to the character.
Yep. And, it's okay. I don't mind this particular story at all. It's, like you said, a bit of a special missions vibe feel to it. The ending was a bit too kind of, gung-ho, not the character gung-ho, but kind of, I'll sacrifice myself for the team, all that kind of nonsense, which I'm not really my bag. But just felt a bit, Hollywood movie-ish, which, I guess maybe
Michael
Larry's
Bay.
drawing from.
Yeah. It struck me as well as that this again is not a particularly successful mission for the Joes, really.
No.
That they've gone in. Leatherneck has almost blown it from the off. The person they went in to go and rescue, the Ambo, was ended up dying, and his security detail took fire as well. And they just about got away with their own tails intact. Well, and a blown up helicopter as well.
Yeah.
So all in all, not maybe sort of a great score for the Joes there when they ranked their own mission, which isn't, I guess, the first time that we've seen that you've almost got 50-50 chance with the Joes that something bad is going to happen with that mission, that they don't come up on top. Yeah. Were you overall? Did you like this one or? Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good change of pace to see that sort of more realistic sort of special mission type adventure, peppered in with all of the slightly sillier ninja stuff.
Yeah, it just felt to me a little bit like, they're pretty much away. They're pretty much out of the city limits, and they're kind of getting to their destination, and it felt a little bit like they wasted a lot of time just kind of walking out there, him grabbing the gun, them stopping the practical. If they'd have all just got in the same vehicle and pedal to the metal, they probably could have all made it out alive, I felt. But that makes for a much less kind of exciting / morally challenging ending. Right, good stuff. If we got the magnifying glass out, did you use it to spot anything interesting?
I spy with my little eye.
Yeah, a few things. So when Sean had his face wrapped up, I had to go and Google what a furoshiki, what that was, and that is a
headscarf.
It will. I thought that would
Or
be
not.
just like a sort of bandana type headstaff, but it's actually a type of traditional Japanese wrapping cloth, traditionally
Okay.
used to transport clothes, gifts, and other
Or
goods.
to wrap bricks in.
Or wrap a brick right up in, yeah. There was, I noticed one thing actually was a typo there, or a in Larry's script potentially, which was that long range is accidentally called long shot. By
yes. Good spot.
And I noticed that the ambassador was the Ambo was a recon marine, which was very much like the American ambassador to Sierra Gordo, which is Ambassador Pierce Bryson, who was a marine who died in issue 198. So I wonder if all of the ambassadors in Larry's universe are ex-marines.
Yeah.
Oh, and stop! Hammer time! We've got another sucking chest wound. This time
I missed that one. Where's that one?
This is Emerson the bodyguard in 243.
Right. Yes.
So he gets a sucking chest wound, and they trying to patch him up there in the back of the practical somewhere.
Yeah.
Sorry, trying to find the page. And then what else have we got? Oh, I like this. I'm not necessarily one for remembering Bible verses myself, but I had to look it up. The ambassador quotes John 15:13, and that is, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." So the quote, the verse he's quoting is, I guess, sort of a direct allusion to what he's doing. Is he's laying down his own life, protecting the Joes and his security team.
Yep.
And that was it.
Good
Out
stuff.
of my little spying eye.
Well done, sir. Nothing from the chief. Again, with 2 issues, we've got less scripting, but that doesn't mean that there can't be some gems to be found.
Favourite line of dialogue?
And I'm going to go first. My favourite line of dialogue was from Wade Collins in 242. It's page page 4 of 242. He's on the back of Buzzer's bike, and he says, "My hot wiring skills are still good, so transport should not be a prob." I just thought it was quite funny that he's kept up to date with hot wiring stuff, all from probably his his youth and his Cobra indoctrination. And don't worry, I'll steal a car. It's not a problem. Not thinking about what about that poor guy who owns the car.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway.
I guess criminal sort of mind remains there in the background. See, I had 2 that I couldn't decide between, so
You can have them both. Go on.
here we go. So towards the beginning of 242, there's a little exchange between Destro and Venom, and Destro says, "That really is you in there, isn't it, Venom?" And Venom replies, "You bet your sweet bibbity, Destro."
Yeah, nice.
Bibbity being US slang for butt. Another one to add to the colloquialism bank there. And then over in the on the special mission side, we had this exchange from long shot, long range. I think I've done it now.
Yep, you have. Yes.
He says, "Tango in the practical shouting orders, just got promoted to primary target. Blam!
Yeah.
He just got promoted to dead."
Yeah, that was a good one. Very good. There's one thing that we do need to do before we go to the Yo Joage, and that is pick out our favourite character.
Who is the MVP? Most valuable person in these issues. Who is the MVP? Is it a Cobra Joe or the enemy?
The good guys are the Joes now show counter-terrorist force, but hush, it's on the down low. Pages of this book, go have a look. We're searching for guys or gals that have the hook. The hook of being the best thing in the story, chomping up scenes, front and center allegory. And let's not forget about those cats named Cobra, sipping Dom Perignon. Are you sure they're sober? Brainwave Scanner is back, gonna be messing. Big CC and Destro teach a lesson. Talking valuable, can we talk the dreadnoughts, grape soda, chocolate donuts, and then the jukebox?
Who is the MVP? Most valuable person in these issues. Who is the MVP? Is it a Cobra Joe or the enemy?
Right, anyone stand out for you here?
Yes, I did choose someone, but I will hold on to it under my little hat for the moment because
well,
it will give away.
We can both have the same one. It doesn't matter.
It will give away
I'm going with Airborne.
It will give away the next section, so I want you to have a guess at who I'm going to talk about in toys.
Okay, Airborne. No,
That's right.
Okay, no, my MVP was Airborne. Always loved that character from those the 31 to 33 or whatever it was, All Fall Down arc.
That's
over
right.
in the
Yeah.
Cabin Spirit. I know you're a big fan of that particular storyline.
Yeah. 31 is quite possibly my favourite issue. Of
right.
the,
Yeah, you've got
run,
some nice
so.
original art from that as well from Rod Wiggum, which if we haven't posted up or you haven't posted up, you'll stick up on the Talking Joe stuff, I imagine.
Yeah, why not?
Good stuff. A little bit of Airborne. You've got Airborne's in that, isn't he?
It's Airborne. It's on my art. Yeah, it's a
On your
recreation of the key kind of elements of issue 31. So it's got Airborne and the Spirit together, sort of running.
But here in this, I like the way he kind of, he is. I don't know what his rank. I don't know what the rankings are of these 4 Joes that are on this mission. If he is the highest, but does a good job of taking charge. Some nice panel action. So Airborne for me. And you're saying I need to guess who your MVP is because it will be the topic of discussion for the Toy Talk by the sounds of it. So let's go with Leatherneck.
I thought I'd given it away already. It was Airborne.
Oh, it was Airborne. Oh, right.
Yeah.
I just wasn't paying attention earlier, obviously. Okay. Or maybe I didn't hear you.
Maybe not. I'll give you a benefit of the doubt.
Okay. All right. Fine. Airborne for both of us there. Good stuff. But what that does right now then is that leads into Toy Talk. Mark talks about toys, ho ho. He talks about G.I. Joe. He talks about all the toys from the comic book and the animated show. Mark talks about toys. Mark talks about toys.
Franklin E. Talltree.
Yep.
Who is grade E5 sergeant.
Yeah, as he should be.
As he should be, taking the lead in this mission. He's obviously an airborne infantryman, which is handy for his nickname. And he has a Navajo background. So if you remember in issue 31, when he's teamed up with Spirit, they say, "Here comes the cavalry," and because they can't really say, "Here comes the Indians."
Yep.
So let's have a little bit of a blurb about Airborne first to reacquaint ourselves. Airborne's parents are oil-rich Navajos who indulged their eldest son with skydiving lessons. Talltree also studied law and passed the Arizona State Bar exams. He joined the Army and opted for airborne training, commenting, "I'd rather jump out of the airplanes than write legal briefs." Graduated top of class from Airborne School. Airborne jokes around and gets loose, but he's serious too. Dead serious. You can look at him and sometimes he's looking right through you. Must be the Indian in him. The Navajos call it the far-seeing look. Spooky. So he was 1983, carded as part of the second series, and it's a figure that you had in your toy box, wasn't it, Chief?
Yeah, big fan of this guy. I don't remember buying him, but would have had him early on. Love that gun he comes with. Really nice.
It's like an M16 with a sort of
with a bayonet on it.
A bayonet and a kind of thinner stock on the end of it.
And I tell you what, I really like his helmet as well. It's kind of, it's a bit of more of a thinner, leaner helmet than we've seen on a lot of Joes. Yeah,
the likes of, like, for example, the Hawk figure has a kind of a bulky kind of look to it, so that when it's on the when it's sitting on his head, it looks a bit dorky. Whereas this is, like you say, a sort of thinner, leaner, and it sort of fits quite snugly on his head. Yeah. I really love the face is great. I love the deco, the paint scheme here across the whole figure. I love the roll neck underneath his jacket. Oh yeah, good kind of tight to his neck. It's a real kind of unique look. It just looks great. I love the backpack. I love the knee pads. Just big fan of this figure and character. Both. Yeah, and he's got this sort of powder blue or something along those lines, kind of top to him. He's got little paint application of, I guess, sergeant stripes on his his arm, and he's got kind of on his waist. He's got I guess that kind of harness that you'd associate with having a parachutist.
Did you have him, or have you got him?
I don't have him anymore. I don't think that I had him in my collection when he first came out either. I think one of my friends did, but I think he was missing from my collection. Peter will remember, but So I think I would have got him somewhere along the lines, but maybe not my.
Yeah.
my
I love the fact on the card art on the front. It says helicopter assault trooper.
Yeah, secondary speciality. Lovely.
Like you can only jump out of a helicopter. If it's a plane, no thanks.
Weirdly, he sort of came out at the I think in the same year as Ripcord as well. So you've got two kind of troopers there with very similar specialities, and I think that's probably to some extent why we've seen less of him in the comics and various other media that kind of, particularly in the comics, Ripcord had a very big sort of arc and featured prominently. If there hadn't been the Ripcord figure, maybe Airborne would have sort of taken up some of that, some of the reins on some of those stories. Yep,
good, really big fan of this. Top 10 all time for me, from a figure point of view. And again, I'm not. As I don't want to keep harping on 96 episodes in, but my figure knowledge, although has grown from being part of this podcast, and all my co-hosts Ben aside, who I'm probably on the same level as in terms of knowledge of figures, but the other three, you and Diagnostic and S-Jubs, have educated me, so I'm more familiar with more figures, but not the whole of the line. But this guy is still top 10 all time for me.
Excellent.
Yeah, very good.
There we go. Round of applause for Airborne.
Yeah, well done, Tall Tree. More toys next week. And actually, I've just, using the reference toys, I've just realised we didn't actually do an action figure fiasco this week, but we did talk enough about action figures, especially 6-inch ones, for that to be enough of a fiasco. But don't worry, the action figure fiasco, the regular one, will return next week with 2 figures in the spotlight. I've already picked out which 2 it's going to be, so don't worry about that. You'll get your fix then.
And if it always went right, then you could hardly call it a fiasco, could you?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, something else to go wrong. Yeah.
like not having it at all. But
yeah. Oh, I tell you what we forgot to do. We forgot to yo-jo those comics, even though I talked about yo-joing at some point in that comic talk. So let's go do that now. Yo-joage for these 2 issues, which is kind of the conclusion of the community building escape and the Trucia Abysmia stuff.
Yeah, and it's a bit weird, I guess, that first element, it was clearly just a hangover, just wrapping up the previous story, and then you've got something entirely distinct in the remaining issue and a half. So it's a bit of a weird one to rank. So I'll rank mine mostly based on the main meat of the story, with the Joes. I think a nice palette cleanser. One and done mission with the Joes. Nice to see some characters, sort of secondary characters getting some airtime. Good fun, solid action adventure. Let's go 7.
7 from Funky Bunch. Chief coming in hot take 5.5.
Oof, it's a cold take.
I just don't envision that I'm ever going to read those issues again. Anyway, 5.5. You're losing me, Larry.
Read them in a month when you've forgotten them.
That's true. I used to say that I tried to do a full reread of ARAR at least once every 2 years. Now, that was kind of up to the Marvel run before IDW started publishing, and then since we're now up to issue 275, I think is due out this month maybe. If I said, I'd like to try and do an ARAR run every 2 years, I wonder how far I'd go up to. Wonder if I would still just stop at the Marvel run, or whether how much of the IDW run I would carry on into. I don't know. Interesting.
I'll tell you what, though, Chief. I've been rereading the issues with Thomas, and we're up to the Cobra Civil War.
Yes.
And despite, I guess it was only last year that we were doing the reread along of those issues in the Talking Joe podcast, and I was reading along as you were doing them. despite that, still really enjoying them. Those are just
that doesn't surprise me. It's
such classic stories.
Stuff. Yeah, definitely. I think up to about, for me, up to maybe 100, 1 to 100, or maybe, some people say 21, to whatever, that 70, late 70s or whatever, and some people say, maybe when Destro turns up, 11 up. But for me, I can go back to 1. I can go 1 to 100. I would be happy as saying that's the classic run. But anyway, more Toy Talk next week. But right now,
you're listening to Talking Joe, and now for something completely different.
The Star Wars galaxy sure has a lot of playgrounds. Jedi Knights, evil Sith, bounty hunters, all doing the rounds. But there's a guy so cool, the Mandalorian. Now expand your mind and be a Star Wars historian. It's 10-Minute Mando. He's chasing a star. It's 10-Minute Mando. He loves Beskar. It's 10-Minute Mando in a galaxy far, far away. Yes, that's right. It's the final episode of 10-Minute Mando for Season 1 of The Mandalorian. We'll be back next week with a hot take on Season 2, Episode 1. So let's wait for that to find out what we think. But right now we need to close out Season 1. Like I say, we'll be having a chat of Episodes 7 and 8. We are underway. I started the clock already, so where should we dig in? I think I'm not even going to give you a chance to dig in. I'm going to tell you that this is definitely a case of chuck episodes 4, 5 and 6 in the bin. You never need to watch them again, and watch 1, 2, 3, 7 and 8, and there's your mini movie. Well, not a mini, but there's your an hour and a half movie. No, probably more than that. Almost 2 hours 30 movie of those 5 episodes.
Fair enough.
I suppose what's the bird called? Cara Dune, is it?
Yeah, that's right.
So actually you do need to watch a little bit of one of those junk episodes to get her reference. But other than that, there's your movie. And 7 and 8 is the closing part. I definitely did not think 7 and 8 was as good as 1, 2, 3.
Oh, interesting.
Yourself? Or did you say it's all on a par?
I guess 1, 2, 3 probably benefits from it being all new, all different, and fresh, whereas 7, 8 is a little bit more of the same. But a lot of solid fun to be had. I was doing a bit of research, and some people saying that 7 and 8 are their favourite and the strongest episodes, and
right.
I wouldn't necessarily disagree. I think there's a whole lot going on there, a lot of fun.
Yep, I tell you what I did like. Anytime you see Biker Scouts, that's always going to get a thumbs up. And I thought this scene where they've grabbed the Baby Yoda thing. Actually, so who was telling me today? Ben was speculating that actually is Yoda, a clone of Yoda.
What could be? I mean, why not?
Because I think they're going to try and tie in as much, not as much, but a lot of stuff to original trilogies they can. So anyway, that's for Season 2 chat. But when they scooped up that little Baby Yoda thing, as I'll keep calling it, and they're sitting on their speeder bikes having a chat, really enjoyed that. But I think it went on a tiny bit too long. The comedy in it went on a tiny bit too long. Mm-hmm. However, I did enjoy those two guys just shooting the shit together.
Yeah, well, I was reading about that this morning, and it was quite an interesting take. That they're saying that Scout Trooper scene wasn't something that we've really seen before in live action Star Wars. That it's kind of very close to it being straight out comedy, but also almost Tarantino-esque of the stormtroopers just hanging out, shooting the breeze, and just really toying with our expectations of what is Star Wars and what we should expect to see there. Very comedic. We've got Jason Sudeikis voicing one of the troopers who's got a background of comedy acting. He's The Hangover and stuff like that. He's well known for. Just sort of discussing Moff Gideon coming and wiping out dozens of their co-workers.
Yeah.
Well, these guys, they like to come in and lay down the law when they first come into town. And it's an interesting scene, and it maybe is quite a slow pace to it, but I think it works. It probably pushes the idea of Star Wars quite close to breaking point.
I think another thing I kind of liked was they made me kind of care about the IG-11 droid, which was good. Kind of having him do that 180 from being this merciless killing machine from episodes 1, 2 and 3, and then he's now a nursing droid for these last 2 episodes was quite nice.
And Mando's attitude himself to robots and or droids, and in particular IG-11, sort of also doing that 180 of episode 1, or is it episode 1 or 2? He is blasted in the old noggin by Mando, and here they've kind of got that moment of trust where Mando actually takes off his helmet, and it's IG-11 is the only one who gets to see his face underneath.
I thought that Mando, I mean, I don't know how good this... Who is it? The guy who plays Oberon, the actor?
That's right, yeah.
Game of Thrones. I was thinking, is he that good? But I quite liked him. No, I'm not a Game of Thrones fan, but I quite liked him as Oberon in Game of Thrones. I thought he was good. But here he's got a scene where he's been blasted out and they've dragged him back in and he's dying. He's like, leave me. Da, da, da. I thought he was pretty poor there from an acting point of view. That whole scene of Mando potentially dying was pretty ham-fisted. And another thing, and I'm not here to slate it at all, I thought the show overall was, it was serviceable. It was a lot of fun in many places. I don't think it was amazing as some people say, but I don't know. It's anytime you see stormtroopers and biker scouts, there's always going to be that feeling of nostalgia and a wave of like, oh, this is amazing. This is what it's all about. And they did that really well. And when all these stormtroopers disembark from the little transport things and they come popping out and you get these death troopers and stuff, it's it gives you the feels, doesn't it? It gives you the feels.
Full on, and also leaning into nostalgia, they've used the Imperial troop transporter.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, so that's the one. Yeah,
based on a toy made by Kenner that came out in 1978. But
I had that.
Never actually appeared on screen until this point as well. So it's
it's
really leaning into the the Star Wars lore.
Yep. I really liked Moff Gideon's TIE fighter.
Yeah.
Cool. However, I'm not convinced by him as. Not necessarily as an actor, but just as the character. He felt a little bit low rent, I thought, and he felt his plan and tactics felt really shonky. He, as far as he knows, the biker scouts have got the Baby Yoda. They've got these 3 people trapped inside a building. He's got about 100 stormtroopers. Why is he giving them till like day? I'll give you till the sun rises to come out. And then he just ends up going in with an incinerator trooper anyway. Why is he not afraid to just get all his troops in there or chuck grenades in or something? I just didn't understand it at all. Just giving them time to escape.
Yeah, giving them till nightfall to consider surrender when clearly they didn't want to surrender.
No,
seemed to
and
make
he said if you don't come out, I'll come in and kill
all.
you anyway. So just didn't make sense.
On the other hand, what made just as little sense to me was the fact that he was standing out there in front of them. And they had clear eye shot of him. Why not just take him out with a blaster at that point in time? Surely that would send a little bit of a message to him and his mob if he had actually just been shot. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, that aside, for me that's quite a big plot hole, and because it forms such a big part of what happens, them escaping and stuff. But I like the escape bit through the lava. The astromech droid with the arms and legs was quite cool.
Yeah.
I like the scene from episode 7 where they go to the saloon and Werner Herzog's there, and again he's fantastic, man, as that the client.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I don't know if he's named as a character.
Is he? I don't think he is named. Is he?
He's just the client, I think. But that whole scene, the tension where they go in and there's supposed to be 4, but then a few more stormtroopers come in.
Oh yeah.
And he's about to open up the pram, and then he gets the call on the hollow cam thing, and the tension there was really good. I thought that was a really good scene. That.
Yeah, very good. Genius casting, I think, getting in Werner.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
He's just.
Has he done? I know him as a director, but I didn't know if he had many acting credits to his name.
I don't think too many off the top of my head. He does quite a lot. He's done various things, narrating it and so on.
Right.
So he's got that very distinctive voice that he has used on documentaries and that kind of thing. But probably not anything nearly as well known in terms of front of the camera acting as here anyway. And sort of what was quite fun actually about the stormtroopers sort of congregating and surrounding them was that behind the scenes they needed all of those stormtroopers and they needed all of those uniforms, a heck of a lot on screen. So Dave Filoni suggested that they get the 501st cosplayers fan costume group to come and participate. So a lot of those stormtroopers that you see on screen are actually fans in their their personal stormtrooper uniforms.
Is that the 501st? Is that a worldwide group, or is that?
Yeah, I believe it's a worldwide sort of collective of stormtrooper fan costume group. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we've seen some at comic conventions before. I'm sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was good. That was good. Anything else? Any other research or little nuggets you spotted?
Well, I was thinking about the overall theme of nature versus nurture. So it sort of is echoed in various things. So sort of against the sort of context of why of the child and some of the things he's exhibiting. So he's, I guess, protecting Mando, while looking very cute, but he's also showing that sort of slight dark side of giving Cara Dune that chokehold.
Yeah.
And in conjunction of why is it that Moff Gideon wants that child? Is it that he wants a young child, Jedi with all of that force that he can then control and shape and bring over towards the side of I guess the evil side is what I might say.
But just to cut you off, he does say a line when he's speaking to the guys in the saloon. He says, "I need that creature for reasons that you'll never know or you'll never understand." So he makes a big reference to not the specific reason he needs it, but that it is almost a matter of life and death. So it will be interesting, like you say, to see where that goes.
Yeah, so with Yoda, the child might grow up in one of those two sort of light dark directions. Out of time.
That's time, but you're in a bit of a flow, so I'm going to give you an extra 20 seconds.
We also had a sort of IG droid there as as an assassin or nurse, going in a different direction. It's not fixed. Krull also sort of redeeming from his past actions, and Mando as well. Sort of, he's defined by a creed rather than a race that's defined by birth, and also defining himself as the protector of the child rather than just a cold-blooded bounty hunter. Yeah.
Good, all valid, good talking points to think about. Two things that I will just touch, and I'll give myself 20 seconds to add. I almost done a 180 on the stupid Yoda child thing, which at the beginning I was like, nah, get rid of this rubbish. But without him, there is nothing to... I mean, Mando's a pretty one-dimensional character anyway, but if it's just him taking up bounties here and there, then that is not a TV show. That's just nothing.
Yeah, it's what gives
with
the
that
show
kid,
shape, isn't it?
Does, and obviously that is completely copying from things like Lone Wolf and Cub and all that stuff, but, that's nothing wrong with that, and that actually gives Mando some kind of context and moral base and just story arc as well. So there's that. So I'm actually up on the kid now. And the second thing was, just to quickly discuss, I did mention me buying the Mandalorian armourer figure. Of course, we do need to discuss that massive fight scene where she smashes down a load of stormtroopers. Very cool.
I guess we have to.
Yeah. Well, we don't have to. I've just done it. But she uses the tools of her trade to put the whammy, put the smash down on.
To lay down
so that was quite nice.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the Darksaber making an appearance at the very end of the second episode there as well, which obviously has got this big mythology surrounding it that was built up
in Clone Wars,
some of the media,
animated.
Clone Wars and Rebels. So yeah.
Very good, very good. We will be still doing Mando Madness, so if it's not your thing, don't worry, just skip forward 10 minutes every episode. But we'll be covering Season 2, Episode 1 next week on the show.
And it's airing, I guess, is it the day after this pod drops? Is that right?
Yes, so this pod will drop on the 29th of October, and the episode drops on the 30th. Then we'll record probably the day after, so you'll have a week to have digested the episode before you get hit with the real not the opinions, but the facts from Chief and Funky Bunch. So stay tuned for that. But we will close the show out in normal fashion by looking at the listener question and your responses.
We asked you a question. You've been the listeners of the show. Oh, you must answer it now.
Okay, yeah, I like it. Abrupt, to the point. So,
last week we asked about your favourite unloved G.I. Joes and Cobras. So, who are your C-listers, your D-listers that are less well-known, less loved, less airtime, less toy time, less comic time? There is a vast cast, and not all of us can love exactly the same ones to the same level. So, what did you have to say? Who are your C-listers and D-listers?
Okay, so we did get a lot of responses. We've had great responses recently on all these questions across all forms of media, social media, but there were quite a lot of characters listed here, and we've got Ambush, Daredevil, Alpine, Annihilator, Banzai, Big Ben, Big Boa, Blackout, Bullhorn, Cesspool, Chuckles, Cobra Stinger Driver, Colonel Courage, Cropmaster, Crystal Ball, Cyber Viper, Darklon, DJ, Drop Zone, Dialtone, Fast Draw, Flak Viper, Flash, Freefall, Gnorgahide, Gristle, Haywire, Heat Viper, Hit and Run, Ice Storm, Lowlight, Mercer, Metalhead, Muskrat, Night Creeper, Outback, Pathfinder, Rampart, Raptor, Recoil, Red Star, Repeater, Salvo, Scrap Iron, Shadow Tracker, Shockwave, Skullbuster, Sneak Peek, Spearhead, Starduster, Stretcher, Thunder, Tomax, Toxo Viper, Tripwire, Undertow, Worms, Zaymot, Xandar. So there you go.
And what was interesting about those responses was there was actually very little overlap on the choices.
Okay.
There was some people who got the most votes, but actually most of those just had a single vote for them per piece. So
interesting.
A lot of different tastes and favourite lesser known G.I. Joes and Cobras.
Okay. Shall I pick out some of these?
Go on.
So, interestingly, things like, Daredevil, never heard of him. Ed, any ideas?
So, he was one of Sky Patrol, Skyforce, something like that.
Okay.
So, was kind of in that wave, I think. I think he's sort of red and black. Yeah.
Right.
For sure, meeting the definition of a lesser-known Cobra.
But then we've got a couple, I see Alpine in there. If you were a fan of Action Force, then he's definitely not an underrated, underused character, but because he appears a lot in the Action Force comic. But I guess maybe from a G.I. Joe comic point of view, he's not had many appearances, and from a toy point of view, I would have no idea how popular the toy was, or how many appearances or versions of the toy there is. But that toy is great, so I'm going to disqualify that one.
That's fair enough. Yeah, great toy. Well, I think he came out in a classic year with a lot of great figures. Like
Cesspool, I think he's. I don't think he's underrated. I think he's rated. Chuckles, again, I suppose Chuckles from a comic point of view on the Marvel run, definitely underrated. Had a lot of screen time or page time from the IDW run, plus the other IDW continuity.
And also in terms of the Hammerverse, in the IDW world has subsequently seen quite a lot of coverage. Big character in G.I. to the movie as well. So
Darklon, I'm disqualifying Darklon because he's everywhere. DJ, I'll allow DJ. I'm going to go for this one. He is part of Battle Force 2000.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He was like a second wave. I think the only one that was released out of that main initial wave of Battle Force 2000. He just came out, I think, probably the following year, just on his own. Yeah.
I remember my scant memories of him. I remember the figure actually looking pretty cool.
If you say so.
Okay, I'm on my own.
He's a weird-looking figure. He's got these sort of funky built-up boots. He's got colours that out of the wazoo. He's got sort of grey, blue.
Okay.
Right.
Well, he's a worthy contender on the list then.
He deserves to be on this list.
Dial tone. Are we allowing dial tone?
Well, in terms of comic appearances, I think that's fair. In my own mental canon, I don't think he'd rank in the D lists, but maybe C list. Why not?
Okay. All right. What else have we got here? Flash. Can you have one of the original 13 as an underrated C-lister?
Well, I thought about sort of striking this one out and not having on the list at all, but it's probably a fair comment in terms of the sort of coverage he's got. He's probably is a figure that has been a little bit forgotten. If you think about, that spotlight that he's had in the original Marvel issues, not a massive amount of page time. In my own memories of him as a figure, he had like solo origin story in the pages of Battle Action Force, which is one that's worth checking out. Lovely art from Vanyo on that one.
Right.
But yeah, in the world of the Hammerverse,
Okay.
it's not all that much time to him, so why not?
All right, help me out. Freefall, Sky Patrol, maybe.
Freefall was a little bit later. Sorry, what was the comment you said?
Freefall.
Yeah.
Help me out. I said I don't know who he is.
He was a little bit later on in the line. I don't think he made the pages of the comic at all, but yeah, okay. He's another parachutist. So, right. Along with Ripcord and Airborne and even Crazy Legs got some comic time. Yep. I think it was just a little bit too saturated a market.
Okay.
But yeah, a good figure actually. Sort of, despite being later on in the line, a very kind of realistic looking kind of browny green sort of camo look to him with some sort of all of the rigging on from the parachute gear on his outfit and whatnot. Yeah, a good figure.
All right, Norga Hyde, good figure. I like that figure. Maybe the person who voted for this, wanted some page time in the comic or wanted just more love for that particular figure. I've got absolutely no idea whether this figure is loved or unappreciated. I don't know.
Most certainly by some. When I was playing with my toys, he was a big favourite for me. He had so much character to the figure.
And load of accessories as well. Covered that on
massively
one of my toy
ripped
boxes.
as well. Sort of big guns on him.
Gristle, no idea, and Haywire, no idea. Help me out with them too.
So Gristle is, I think he's affiliated with the Headman's forces in that sort of drug elimination force little sub-team group. He's quite sort of funky looking. He's sort of black outfit with kind of bright, I think, like pink and yellow trimmings to him, and he's got he's got black sunglasses and sort of these weird kind of this hairstyle with a ponytail and the kind of bangs of hair that sort of run down past his ears. I commented on the Facebook group that he looks like a complete douche, but I guess in every story you need someone to be the douche.
Haywire.
Haywire, I think I had to look that one up at the time. I've got a feeling that one might be have a sort of a bit of a look of a crazy scientist too.
Okay, interesting.
If I remember correctly.
Hit and Run. No, I'm not having that. He's a classic figure, surely. Maybe more page time required, but figure-wise, Low Light.
A lot of people's favourites.
Low Light, no chance. Chucking that one out. Everyone loves Low Light, and he's had good figures and good page time. What else we got? Night Creeper, chucking that one out. A lot of page time there. Outback, can't have that. Pathfinder. Now, is Pathfinder the one with the kind of weird garden trimming tools?
I need to double check. Is that Pathfinder, or is it the guy with the sort of goggles and the? Let me type this.
I'm moving on. Raptor. Okay. Everyone loves Raptor. Come on, I'm not having that. Repeater. Was Repeater the one on the cover of issue 82?
I'm going to say yes without knowing for sure if it's 82. It's that he's the sort of the heavy machine gunner
and the Cobra, the Vipers in the background.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's Repeater. Yeah, maybe he needs some more stuff going on. Salvo, I think that's the guy. Which one's Salvo? Actually, no, I'm thinking of Backblast, the guy who holds like a 4 missile launcher thing. Who's Salvo?
Yeah. So same speciality. He's got a bald head.
Oh yes,
t-shirt.
Yeah. He's got a black T-shirt with something written on it.
Yeah, the might of the right of might or something like that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, he's not a bad design. Scrap Iron. Yeah, we need more Scrap Iron, definitely, I'll go with that. But probably loved from, he's kind of, I equate a lot of these guys as kind of the Boba Fett effect, where in the original trilogy, not in it much, but just obtains cult status. Now, I'm not saying Scrap Iron's on the same level as Boba Fett, but, he's kind of that original ish run of characters and figures and very little kind of page time, which will tie into one of my choices at the end, which will probably get discounted by myself for being a classic A-lister anyway. All right, last couple here. Shadow Tracker, no idea.
So he's sort of like got a bit of a sort of skeleton-looking mask with big dreadlocks. The figure itself came out in the more recent kind of run.
Okay,
so,
all right.
Not a classic, but a very good looking figure.
Yeah, Shockwave, interesting one. I know Shockwave is a big fan of S-Jubs. I know Chris loves him. I know friend of the show Smudger loves him. But it sounds like everyone loves Shockwave. But could we call him a C-list character in terms of comic appearances? We probably could.
Yeah. I think he's certainly not an unloved character, but in terms of page appearance, it has been a little bit scant. Yeah. So
now that I think about the question is, and we didn't mean it to be ambiguous, but it's very easy to. Everything's subjective, isn't it? So it's what's one man's underrated is another man's overrated, but. So they're probably all valid choices, to be honest, but my say is final, obviously. Spearhead, that's the chump with that with the Manx cat, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah,
yep.
Get rid of it. Yeah, he's rubbish. He's not underrated. he's overrated.
He's another figure that's got
massive helmet.
Helmet. Yeah, helmet issues.
Yeah. Stretcher, he looked quite cool. Stretcher, he was like a Lifeline replacement, wasn't he? He looked quite cool.
That's right. Yeah.
Let's see more of him.
Yeah.
Tomax and Zaymot, I'm not having that. They're big players, man. Tripwire, not having that. Worms is what, the driver of the maggot?
That's right.
Yeah. Looked cool design, looked pretty cool. I'd like to see more of them.
Yeah, really good design. Yeah.
And Xandar, we'll have Xandar because he did not get fleshed out enough. Always love the Dreadnoks. Get him back in the mix. I had Wild Weasel written down, but I realised that even though Wild Weasel has had not that much page time, what he does is incredible, and he is a great design. And he's probably not C-list; he's probably B-list.
Mm-hmm.
And then from a Joe point of view, I struggled here because again, I'm coming from the comic bent, and I'm thinking about those early ones. We discussed earlier. Maybe Airborne. Maybe you could slip Airborne in there as a C-lister.
Yeah, why not? Okay.
I'm not going to say Mutt because Mutt has enough appearances, I think, especially in those early issues.
Yeah.
But what about yourself? And I know you wanted to touch on a few of the, someone in particular, their list.
So my picks would probably vary depending on the day you'd ask me. But I went for Salvo, so that I guess the guy with the massive missile launcher, the bald head, the brown t-shirt. I think just sort of a great look to him and sort of occupied a lot of playtime back in my youth. And I think you might have crossed this guy out of the list, but Cesspool was my Cobra choice. I think just such a brilliant design and look to him, and just sort of disappointed that in terms of comic time and actually the way he was interpreted as a character in the pages of the comics didn't really kind of align to my interpretation of him being a very kind of serious figure. Yep. And I'd call out, we actually got some good answers from Chris Diagnosticati McLeod. I think this is probably a question that very much lives in his brain and he's spent a long time thinking about in advance, so didn't need to take a lot of time to come up with an answer from him. So he said his B list would be Hit and Run Televiper, his C list would be Lightfoot and Hydro Viper, and his D list would be Countdown and Toxo Viper.
Okay, yeah, someone else did mention Toxo Viper was on this list here. Maybe that was the one from Chris then. But yeah, like you say, the man is well versed in the world of Joe, and if someone is going to be grading Joes on their list status, I probably would defer to Diagnosticati every time. But good stuff. We're going to reverse it. And next week we're going to ask you who are the A-list top of the heap Joes that most people generally love, but you just can't stand. So tell us we don't want to be too negative. It's a bit of fun, but tell us the Joes that everyone else seems to love, but you just do not like. Yeah.
And actually, let's talk about the winners as well, because while there was very little overlap on the choice, there was a few of those characters that did get multiple
give us the
votes.
numbers. I love stats.
So in second place we had Crockmaster with 3 votes.
Yep. Yeah, you could do more page time. Yeah.
And on the Joe side, we had Lowlight and Pathfinder in joint places. And I did double check that you were right. Pathfinder is the guy with the kind of hedge trimmer.
Yes.
And sort of waist-mounted machine guns.
Okay.
And then the grand winner.
Yep.
Scrap Iron with 4 votes.
Okay.
And Fast Draw with 4 votes.
Right. Interesting.
So Scrap Iron, a definite, classic look. Really loved that figure. I know a lot of people have got a lot of time for him. In the UK, in the pages of Battle Action Force, he had some solo adventures where he had a bit more of a spotlight on him. But in terms of the comic itself, not a lot of time for him to just sort of get out and do his own thing with some solo airtime. And the Joe one, bit of a surprise really. Fast Draw.
I wouldn't have picked that at all.
Would not have guessed that, but he's got that interesting design. He's got a real sort of solidity about him, if that's an expression that makes any sense. He's got that chunkiness that makes him feel. It's got a very satisfying aesthetic, I guess, when you're playing with him as a figure, and he's got that visor that flips up and down, and got a different, quite a different look to him than a lot of the figures. He does stand out.
Very good, very good. I'm going to actually investigate some of those figures and Google them up and see, if I want to add them to my list or if these people really have got it wrong that have voted. But no, I'm joking. We appreciate all the responses as always. This part of the show, or the show in general, not just this part of the show, but the show is nothing without the listeners, and getting interaction from the listeners is just not that we need the validity, but it, just gives us a little warm buzz in the berries that people are listening, people are interested in the show, which is nice because we do the show for you guys. So thank you for that. You can catch us in all the usual places. That's _ Joe. It's talking_Joe on Twitter. It's Talking Joe Comics on Instagram. It's talkingjoecomics@gmail.com, or it's Talking Joe, a G.I. Joe podcast on Facebook. Good chat going on over there as always. But with all that said and done, we will catch you down the road.
Because we've been Talking Joe.
And we're all out of Joes.
All out of Joes.
Laters.